This episode of On the Road brought to you by King's Camouflage. Any tag, anytime. Thanks for joining us on this special edition. It seems like over the last month and a half, I've received a half a dozen emails asking me how we glass. So in this episode, we're going to cover how, when, and where, and a special technique I like to call gridding. You're not going to want to miss it. It's all in this episode of On the Road. Well, this looks like a pretty good place to glass from right here. Grid this hillside over here and see if we can turn up something. They should get up out of their bed once or twice in the next couple hours and move as the sun comes over. But it's a good place, got shade out of the heat, so let's get set up and get going here. Show you some of the stuff I use when I glass. Okay, so we got the heavy tripod and the heavy spot scope. The good thing about today is the wind's not blowing, so everything we're going to use is going to work out perfect. All right, that should work. I should be able to look through that just fine. We'll set it to the side because we don't use it much. Only when we spot something we use it to check it out. It's another little slick tripodic pack with a grid spotter on it. Comes in handy with the 15s. So this is a slick tripod, just their little tiny metal one. You could get their carbon one, but it saves you only like an ounce. So it's really not worth the extra money if you ask me to go to the carbon. I always start every glassing session by cleaning my glass, because you get any sun rays and have any dust on there and it really makes it tough to glass. So every piece of glass gets a wipe down, regardless if it's been stored and kept clean. It's just a ritual I do. Okay, so there's the 10s, here's the 15s, and there's the spotter. I always start with the 10s. And I always hand hold the 10s because I have the 15s and the spotter on a tripod. And what I do is I always hit the spots that look deery to me. And most of the time, this time of year, August, July, they don't like to go into the thick stuff and ding up their antlers. Their antlers are just a little bit sensitive, so they bed out in the open. So July and August is usually the best time to glass. I always start close, and it's just kind of a speed glass. I glass everything close in case I bump something and something's getting up to leave, and then I work my way afar. So we got this roll in this hill here. We'll glass this stuff here below us. We'll work our way across the flat, some of these high productive spots, these high quality spots, and we'll work our way to the very top of that hill over there. One thing that's key before I get into this is always buy the best glass you can afford. No doubt about it, it helps us tremendously. A lot of times you're looking for just an ear or a throw patch or a tail wiggle, and having the best and the sharpest clarity and the depth perception in the shadows is huge, because right now we're looking in the shadows to sort of bring out that pop in those shadows, and that depth in that shadows is huge. And there's only certain glass that'll do that. I mean, I've looked through some of the best glass in the world, and I went with the Swarovski HD, the Swirl Vision, because of that depth and that shadow. Some of the other high quality glasses, you couldn't even see the deer in the shadows, and we could only see them through the Swarovskis. All right, so we're using the grid spotter now, gridding those rocks over there. This is just a little invention a local guy came up with, and I use it. I love the shit out of it. Midday like this glassing. I've glassed these rocks over here now with my 10s, and I didn't see anything. But I know there's a deer. I watched a deer walk over into there and disappear, so I know there's a deer in those rocks somewhere. So now I'm going to grid all these rocks with the grid spotter, my 15s. One good thing about this grid spotter that I really like and I enjoy is I cover every inch of that hillside over there. So if there's a shed or a winter kill, I'm going to pick it up. I know where it's at. I found it. And a lot of times people, when they glass, they don't find the sheds and the winter kills like I do. And I have a barn full of winter kills and a house full of sheds because I use this technique and I look for deer. And a lot of times I find those sheds and those winter kills. So anyway, I'm going to grid this hillside right there real quick, and we'll try to see if we can't pick up that buck that bed over there. And he might not have bed in the shadow of a rock. Today it's slightly overcast off and on, so he could be on the open hillside just tucked up underneath the sagebrush. So that's why you grid the whole thing and don't miss any of it. And with these 15s being on a tripod and this grid spotter, you can pull your hand away and everything's rock steady. Twist it, pull your hand away, you'll see any amount of movement you could possibly want to see. Fortunately for me, that hill's pretty close. It's only 800-900 yards away. But when I'm looking at these hills over here that are 3 miles away, being rock solid steady is very important. And once you've hit the whole hillside, you just grab your grid spotter here, lower it, and you come back across the opposite direction. Right there he is. But he's 27, maybe 28 inches wide. Good mass, good eye guards. Just not the kind of buck we're looking for. This morning I just saw it was low light. I saw the frame and he was cruising along the trail. Pretty deer. Any general hunt, that'd probably be a dead deer, but on this hunt, there's much better up here, so we'll just keep looking. So that didn't take long with the grid spotter. Couldn't find him with the 10s. Throw the grid spotter up, went back and forth 3 or 4 times, turned him up. So kind of cool. Getting up high on the hillside and being able to look down into their beds is important. This is what glassing is all about right here. 360 degrees of nothing but awesome mule deer habitat. You can still glass from down low and glass up high. It just isn't as effective as getting up high and glassing down into their beds and glassing them from above them. You'll see more of the deer because you can see down into the sagebrush and down into the bushes and down in front of the rocks, where from down low you have all the bushes obscuring your view of the deer's body and stuff, but up from above you can see all that because you're looking down on them. So find a high spot, hit the high quality areas with your glass first, glass from close to far, hitting those high quality spots. Then get your 15s out. As you see, I have my 15s here, and I have a grid spotter and a slick tripod, and then I'll grid every hills. I think the most important aspect of glassing is having the best glass you can afford, because you can sit up here with some of the cheaper glass and do what I do and you'll never see half the animals. So it defeats the purpose of even gridding, basically, because you're trying to grid and the quality of glass you have isn't allowing you to see depth and detail into those shadows. Use tripods, use 15s, use spot and scopes, use grid spotters, but get up and glass. Don't go back to camp and have lunch and take a nap. You can take a nap here on the hillside, get a 10-15 minute power nap in, and then go back to glassing, because those deer are doing the same thing. They're taking naps. But when that sun hits them, when they're in the shaded area like this here, we are here with this rock, that sun's going to eventually come up. But when that sun gets up above and it shines on that deer and heats that deer up, that deer's going to stand up and go on the other side of the rock and find that shade. So you can catch them midday standing up, and they might even feed for a few minutes before they find a new bed and bed back down. So you can definitely find deer midday, and sometimes that's when we find some of our best deer is midday. So you might as well put the glass to work and have it work for you as much as possible. Thanks for joining us on this episode of On the Road. I apologize, but you're gonna have to check out Where We Glass on episode 2 because this segment just ran way too long and we can't fit it all in on one episode. So we apologize. Check out part 2 on Where We Glass, coming soon to On the Road. Thanks again. Well, this is your last chance in case you missed it during the video to subscribe. This button right up here is going to take you to my website. Feel free to go check it out. That button over there, the button, the Creekside Media Group logo, well, that button's going to take you to the YouTube subscription page. And I promise it's painless and it only takes a second. So click on that button, enter an email address or link us to your YouTube account, and we will notify you when our next video comes out. Thanks for your support, and we'll see you on that next video.